In today's video, my tournament report from the Warhammer World Critical Strike 4 tournament that happened last weekend. That is to say, whatever the date is today. Oh, I can't see the date. There we are. Well, last weekend anyway. So, it was a one-day... no, it wasn't. It was a two-day kill team event. Typo on the slide there. Terrible, terrible. I should start again, really, but I'm not going to. 6 rounds. The maps were a mix of every kill zone from this season and last season. So, popular kill team YouTuber Can You Roll a Crit has made a map pack, and we found out 3 days before the event that the Warhammer World guys had adopted that map pack, and we were going to be using his maps for Octarius, Chalnath, Morok, and Nakmund, alongside the official Games Workshop map packs for Volcus, Into the Dark, and Beta Decima. There was a generous 2 hours per round, so 3 rounds on each day. You can see the schedule on the right hand side, with some pretty generous breaks, right? So, you know, you've got the first round there, 10:15 to 12:15, then lunch 12:15 to 1:30, round 2 1:30 till 3:30, then a nice half-hour break 3:30 till 4, and then last round was 4 till 6, and then Warhammer World closed out at 8. So really enjoyed the casual pace, right? 6 rounds over 2 days, 3 rounds a day is pretty cool. Really enjoyed the 2 hour rounds with decent breaks in between. Really good. It was really pleasant. I was a bit worried about going because, so for those of you who don't know, apparently there's a thing called the UKGT, who are an independent tournament circuit. And they organised their kill team event on the Sunday, the same Sunday as this event. Now, I'm going to get my facts right, because I've said this wrong in a few different places. So the UKGT apparently are a big deal that everybody's heard of. Not me. I'm hearing about them now, right, or over the last couple of weeks, but apparently a big deal, okay? And they said they were running an event on the Sunday, and then I believe that Warhammer World then released their date. And so it's Warhammer World's fault there's a clash, I think. But I learned about their event after I learned about the Warhammer World event, because random aside before I get into the event report, how do you find out about tournaments? I know how I find out about tournaments at Warhammer World, because they have a big marketing site called Warhammer Community that I check like 3 times a day, because I'm a massive Warhammer stan, right? But independent events, you know, not a clue. Not a clue. I found out about it at the Knots Kill Team Christmas Clash when people were talking about it, because Ryan Slater was TOing the event, right? So it's not a Knots Kill Team event. It's not a Turning Point Tactics event, even though I have called it both those things in various places. It was a UKGT event, whatever that might be, okay? But he was TOing it. So a lot of the Knots guys, in fact all the Knots guys, who are the main people that I kind of socialise with a lot at these tournaments, were at that event and not this event. So I was a bit worried. Plus, when you add to that Zimbad was supposed to be travelling with me, and he was unwell, so I was on my own. But actually, pleased to report, whole bunches of other guys remember playing against me at previous tournaments and came up to say hello, and there was nary a minute when I was left by myself to contemplate the insides of my own brain. So actually, I have grossly undersold. I was like, oh, all the good guys are going. It turns out a lot of the good guys weren't at the event, but they were just replaced by other good guys. It was actually a really chill, really positive event with loads of cool people talking and chatting and having a nice time. So even though that was something I was worried about, because a clash is never good, and the balkanization of the kill team community, got to get the Cold War reference in there somewhere, Phil, come on, isn't great, and forcing people to make those choices isn't great for me, you know. By the time I'd learned about the UKGT, gonna get that right, otherwise I get comments, event, I'd already booked 2 hotel nights for the full weekend event, and therefore I didn't cancel and swap, because I would have wasted a night in a hotel, which isn't good. Feel like throwing money away. So yeah, so I came to this event. There was another event on at the same time. I'm sure I'll touch on that again later. But despite that splitting off of people, we had a really good time, and there was loads of people there, so it was great, and everyone was really friendly and fun and chill, and yeah, really good. Survived the clash. Talk about the venue and stuff. So there is a lot to like about Warhammer World. If perhaps their scheduling is not the main thing to like, but there is a lot to like. I really like Warhammer World. I really like the fact that, you know, when you go to an independently run tournament, the guys there will always. I've never been to a bad kill team tournament, right? So I'm not saying like Ryan or Jason or any of these other people that I know of that run independently run tournaments do a bad job. They don't. But there is something just about having the volume of people there, like the volume of people who are paid to be there, and they are paid to be there and paid to give a really good customer service experience. And I go to Warhammer World, I go to a lot of their events, and Ed especially, who always seems to be working at the kill team events, like, we get on. He knows me. He asks after Helen and Penny and it does feel like you're going to, it's a bit corporate, sure, as an environment, but it genuinely does feel like you go into a place where people are, and they care to an extent because they're paid to, because of their job, but people genuinely are taking that really caring attitude and making sure that you want to have a good time. And I've never run into a Games Workshop employee that has rubbed me the wrong way in one of their customer-facing roles. So they're all either genuinely lovely people or just thoroughly fantastic at their job, or both, right? And I genuinely do believe that, so that's great. The other thing you get at Warhammer World that you don't get anywhere else is that we have one of the game developers working as a judge. So it wasn't Elliot, who, as far as I know, is still the lead developer. I think what they've done, and I could be wrong, and do correct me in the comments, I think they expanded the kill team dev team, so there are now 3 rules developers, and so not the lead developer, although some people did call them the lead developer, but we had Layla there. I think it was Layla, it might have been Leela, something like that, and they were going around and judging, and you just don't get that anywhere apart from Games Workshop either. One of the actual developers of the game that's able to answer questions and explain to you how the game's supposed to work is really cool. So that was cool as well. Lunch is, now the ticket was £70 for a 2-day event, but that does include 2 lunches. The lunch was very generous in terms of portion, and actually it was very delicious. The first day I had a katsu curry thing, and on the second day I had a chicken. I want to say it was a chicken korma. It was chicken curry, but it was nice with chips as well, which was nice. And onion bhajis, and I could have had naan bread and all this stuff, and juice and pudding and all that thrown in. So really good. There have been in the past some misses at Games Workshop with lunch, but not this time. It was really, really good. So really can't complain about that. What else will I say? Loads of space. In the venue. So Warhammer World, if you've never been, one of the big things it's got at the moment, you're playing in like this mock old world empire Warhammer fantasy like castle courtyard, right? And then they got Bugman's Bar off in one corner, which is like this dwarven themed tavern. And I guess I've been there quite a lot, so some of the magic kind of wears off, but it is worth describing, because if you've never been to Warhammer World, it's absolutely worth it the very first time that you go. And one thing you do get is loads of space. So you went round to play Kill Team, and you had a full 40k size tournament table, so I could spread out all my cards, my tablet, my bits and pieces, all the tokens to my heart's content, and take up all this space. So that was really good, and loads of space to move around, which is positive. You also, again, if you've never been to Warhammer World before, they got a huge museum of all the, not all of them, but like a large selection of all the painted models that Games Workshop actually owns for the, the photography and the front of the boxes, and the White Dwarf articles and all these things and all the features they do on the website. Like all those miniatures they have painted, or not all of them, but like a great portion of them are on display in the museum. Which, you know, I've been around it a lot, but like if we look at the schedule, because the round 3 finished at 6, mine finished a little bit before 6 because I finished it a little bit quick. And the place didn't close till late, so I popped round the museum for free, including in my ticket price. And I did not see another soul, and it was silent. And I spent about an hour just looking at stuff, lost in my own thoughts. You know, I went around, I was by myself, nobody else there. It was actually a weirdly magical experience. Now, obviously, you can't guarantee that, but like most of the time, if you go around the Warhammer World Museum, it's going to be packed out. So having that opportunity, that was really cool. And of course, you can buy stuff. You know that I'm on an old, not an old world. You know that I'm on a Middle Earth little adventure at the minute. So I bought a couple of the Middle Earth metal models that I otherwise would have had to order in from Games Workshop mail order as well. So that was pretty cool. Right, so let's talk about the team that I took. I was taking my Wrecker crew, or at least the half of the Wrecker crew that I have built and painted, because obviously I was very busy over Christmas, so no real hobby time over the Christmas break. So I've hobbied these furiously over the past most of a week to get them to where they are. I'm actually really proud of them. I think they look really good. Didn't win any painting awards, unfortunately. I did think they were in with a chance, because with all of the consummate hobbyists of Not to Kill Team not there was nobody. Like I was upset because I didn't have my display base sorted out, but there was nobody that had a display base. So yeah, but I'm nevertheless, I'm really happy with them. I think they've come up really well, and I've now started to build. Got my dual pistols knob is right on the hobby desk here, so I've started to build the other half of the team, the shooty half of the team. Going to try and paint those up to the same standard or even better, right? And then I will do a 3D printed display base and all the usual things that I do. But no, I was really pleased with the account. The main reason I'm showing you this is what I took into every team. I didn't have a roster, so I've got the Demolisher here with his rocket hammer. I've got the Smasher, is it, with the fists, right? The 2 bomb squigs, and 3 of the Wrecker guys with the hammers that can break holes in walls and make doorways, and of course the 2 bomb squigs and the knob with the combat weapon. So round one, I was against Charles Shepherd. So Charles is a very good player. For those of you that have never heard the name Charles Shepherd, if you watch the Can You Roll a Crit, I think Can You Roll a Crit is now probably, with no offence to Andy, you know that I'm a massive Andy stan, right, glass half dead, but Can You Roll a Crit is now probably the biggest and most influential UK Kill Team YouTube channel. It's certainly not me. And whenever he does a battle report, or almost whenever he does a battle report, his opponent of choice is Charles. So Charles is a really good player. Because he regularly plays in that group with Can You Roll a Crit. So, I was expecting to lose, but Charles was playing Angels of Death, a team against which I have a lot of experience, so I should have had that going for me. But I actually lost 4-21. I think I scored 1 primary. I scored this primary once, right? If you see my mouse pointer, yeah, you can. I scored this primary once. I scored 1 secondary, because in the second turn, he didn't get anybody within... no, it was on the centre line. I scored 1 for being not in the centre, but on the centre line, right? And I killed a Space Marine at one point. And then I scored 1 from the primary up as well. So that was... it was pretty embarrassing. Now, Charles is a very top bloke. He's a great guy. I really actually enjoy... if you're going to have to lose a game like that, Charles is a really nice fella to... He never says or does anything to make you feel belittled for losing disastrously. And he very gentlemanly tried to imply that I'd had really bad luck. And I kind of said to him, no, you're just a really good player of Kill Team, Charles, come on. Now, the one thing I will say is... I don't want to sound like a sore loser, because actually I really enjoyed the game, and I have a lot of respect for Charles. I will say this was Octarius, so this was one of the maps from the Can You Roll a Crit map pack. Now, in the event pack for the Kill Team event, it just said there's going to be a mix of indoor and outdoor tables. And I took that to mean, perhaps foolishly, that it was going to be a mix of Volcus, which is outside, and Into the Dark, which is inside. Because that's what they did for the World Championships of Warhammer. That's what a lot of people are adopting as their format, right? Some people throw in Beta Decima in there as well. Beta Decima's in the core book. I wouldn't have complained about Beta Decima turning up. You expect that maybe you're going to get a Beta Decima as well. And then 3 days before the event, they emailed out and said, hey, there's going to be Octarius, Morok, and all these things from the Can You Roll a Crit map pack. So the reason that was such a problem for me was because I had, and it's my own fault, like I want to say I still would have lost. Charles is a very good player, right? But I might not have lost 421 if I had had some guns. Like if I'd known from the outset there was going to be Octarius and there was going to be, Morok and Nachmund, I might at least have built the Rocketeer, is all I'm going to say. And I might at least have brought a gun and played around with that side of things. So yeah, that was slightly frustrating. So this was my first ever game on Octarius for this edition. It's kind of, yeah, I'm going to talk more on this later. It kind of drastically changes the game a lot to put in all the Vantage and the light terrain again, because you just can't. It's really hard to move up the board without just getting shot to pieces, which is essentially what happened to me. Also, there's the fact that I'm sure that, because it's from the Can You Roll a Crit map pack, I'm sure that Charles has played on this layout before even and knew exactly like where to go and what would be a good place to do. So, briefly in the game, I'm going to just see if I can get a pen tool here, like, and a nice green for the orcs. Like, I basically deployed all my guys sort of down here. Okay, I tried to send my one of my squigs up this way, hoping that he'd be like short enough, and he like hid there for a bit. And then I pushed my orcs out sort of this way, trying to get some ground, and got some orcs forward a little bit, pretty much being hemmed in. Charles had his sniper up here. Basically, I'll change that to blue because Charles was playing Ultramarines. Charles had his sniper up here. He managed to get another fella up here. He had his captain milling around here. There was a guy over here for a lot of the game. 1, 2, 3, 4. There was one here, and I think a second one here. And, I managed to come up and do stuff. I did do some stuff, and I came up, and I managed to kill this fellow, right, but then shot to pieces by the Marines, which, fine. Like, I deserved that, because I'm out of position and overextended and stuff. I was trying to do other things. The squig up here came up to annoy this Marine, but it totally, up here to annoy this Marine, but it totally kind of whiffed and didn't do anything. And generally the orcs just kind of got pinned up here and steadily whittled away by Space Marine shooting, basically, which I did have smoke grenades, but I didn't seem able to use them to good effect. So, yeah, that was a really significant blow. But like I said, playing against a player who I know is a really excellent player of Kill Team, playing on a map that I was unfamiliar with, and I'm sure he was familiar with. Although, again, I'm not trying to use that as like an excuse. I'm not saying if we'd been on Volcus, he probably still would have won. I just might have scored, 8 points to his 21 maybe, or something like that, right? So, yeah, it is what it is. I did actually really enjoy the game. It doesn't sound like it now when I'm going through it, because having to like go through and talk about your biggest defeat. This is my biggest defeat of the tournament. Having to go through and talk about your biggest defeat of the tournament makes you feel worse than when you're actually living it. When I was living it, I was having a great time. The orcs were being dead orky. They were running in, charging up, killing stuff. And like I say, Charles is a great bloke who doesn't ever make you feel bad for losing, which is good, which does sometimes is a vibe that you get when people are so much better than you and they're kind of like visibly annoyed that you're not giving them a challenge or whatever. So this was great. It was a good game. Yes, I got terribly beaten, but it was I still had fun. All right. So round 2, I was against Matthew Bowden. Matthew, really nice man. He was playing Brood Brothers. So those of you that have followed the channel for a long time will know that the previous team that I'd taken to a tournament was Brood Brothers. I got some practice in with the Brood Brothers, so I know what it is that the Brood Brothers were kind of about. I learned from my previous games on Beta Decima and Not Kill Team, so I did put a ladder here, right, and a ladder down here to give myself a hope in heck of getting up onto this objective, and I sent my knob up towards this way, thinking that he was my one ranged guy, so thinking he'd be able to kind of get up there, maybe. Shot a lot by the Brood Brothers for sure. He had I remember he had a heavy barricade here, which is quite a common thing. I had some light barricades knocking around, I think, maybe. I had some light barricades action going on here. Well, not there. More like down here. On my table half, right. He had a razor wire, like here, which was a weird one, I thought. But basically, like, he just had the edge because he was more of a shooting team. It was a handicap. I used smoke grenades. I used barricades. I did take the extra equipment piece to get the ladder as well. To keep myself alive quite a long time. I kind of defeated him on this flank, right? But I kind of overcommitted on this flank and then struggled to get up here where there were no ladders and then get up here. Because you got to remember, this isn't flat like it looked on the map. This is another climb. Like, this thing's really hard to get to, whereas here, where I'd put my ladders to try and get up, he was doing a great job of keeping me pinned down with a lot of shooting coming on. A lot of his team, the pen's going everywhere, but a lot of his team was sort of based around here. His Magus, as I know from playing Brood Brothers myself, the Magus is pretty powerful with that psychic attack. I could have won this game, though, to be fair, because at one point he moved his Magus up to a really stupid place where I was going to be able to charge it, fight it, and then be on the objective, and then loop the objective with my third APL. And he had absolutely no reason to put his Magus that far forward for what he needed to do. And I just looked at him and said, "Are you sure?" And he's like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Well, I'm gonna do this and this and this," and it would have ruined his day because he was having such a nice time. And this is my problem. I guess I kind of, if I'd followed Napoleon's advice and not interrupted my enemy while they were making a mistake, right? But I just couldn't bear it. So I lost by 1 point, but morally and ethically, I think that my conscience is clear. So no, it was a good fun game, and I Beta Decima. Even though I didn't even have very many guns, obviously I had some grenades, some crack grenades, but I had fun. I don't think Beta Decima is as bad as people say it is. Actually, I don't think it's that bad. You have to play differently. You have to take the terrain pieces, but the combination of being able to take all the terrain pieces that you want to take and the ladders, right? And the fact that jump tests aren't really a thing anymore. It's not my favourite kill zone by any stretch of the imagination, but I don't think it deserves to be if you haven't tried Beta Decima in this edition and you remember hating it last edition, what I would just say is give it a go. I don't think it's as bad as it used to be at all by any stretch of the imagination. So it's a good job I think that, because my next game was on Peter Decima again. The next game was on Peter Decima again. So this was a really funny game against David King. David was playing Chaos Cult, and so he basically went, right, I've got like one gun, and you've got like basically no long range guns. We've got no long range guns, but neither of our teams have any long range guns. So we didn't bother with barricades, right? I even took stun grenades. I usually take smoke grenades, right? I even took stun grenades because with the orcs, having the crack grenades and the smoke grenades is really useful, because sometimes you get that third APL and there's not that much you can do with it because you're not Marines. Or you can fight twice with the ploy for a CP once, but you can't just shoot twice or whatever. And also because you get the third APL after you've shot, you can't like move dash shoot either. You can only like move, shoot, and then shrug your shoulders. So used stun grenades the first time ever, because there was just times when it was like, oh, what am I going to do? I guess I'll throw a stun grenade at that guy. Cool, he's got -1 APL. Cool. And it wasn't like part of a whole plan. It was just something that I knew that I could do every now and again to win the game. And now, I would almost always take smoke grenades, but when you look at the opposing team and you go, well, he also has no guns, then why are you going to take a smoke grenade? I'll take stun grenades in that like matchup, right? So yeah, I won 13-10, and it was basically like, there's not that much to say. It was basically just mechanically, I think the Wrecker crew are mechanically stronger than the Chaos Cult. I don't really think David did anything wrong, or misplayed in any way. I just think I won this one on the data card, as it were, because my team is more powerful than his team. You know, it felt like a fair. I didn't at any point think he did anything really stupid. I didn't think that. I thought our skill level was about equivalent. I just think orcs are better at fighting than chaos cultists, which makes sense. I was able to. One thing that he did do, I suppose, which he was really bunching up his guys on the flank here. And I said to him at the start, I've got these bomb squigs, I've got this ploy that can make it into a 2-inch blast. And he was bunching up, and as he was moving in his third guy, I actually did remind him. I said, look, I've got this squig here, and I'm going to do this. And he was like, yeah, but where else am I going to go? The objectives here, we've got this little narrow corridor. I've got a 14-man team. Like, unless you're going to stand in your deployment zone, and maybe the top tier, like super wrinkle brain, elite top tier meta players would say, well, yeah, and in that circumstance, you do just hang back. But the objectives are here, and he's not really got long range guns, so he was bunching up. So I did get some nice explosion action with the squig over on this right hand side, and reduced like 2 of his the power sword fellas down to like a couple of wounds each, which was nice. So that was, but I don't really think that was a blunder. I just think that was like, what else was he supposed to do in that scenario with his combat guys, with the objectives on the side like that? So a bit rough for him, but I didn't gotcha him. I did warn him like 3 times, I think. So yeah. Then we go into round 4. So round 4 was against a player called Grace Savage. So, without wanting to be weird about it, it's nice to see there's actually a couple of women at the event, which is nice, because my wife, as you will know, used to come to these Warhammer World events before our daughter was born. So not for a couple of years now, but she used to come with me, because she also plays Kill Team. And at that time, 2 years ago, she would frequently get like, oh, it's a very male, and it is still a very male-dominated space, right? But she would get very like, oh, I'm the only girl, and that kind of sucks, and blah, blah, blah. So it's a shame she can't now go, right? But I think it's something that's important. I think, without wanting to start a whole Warhammer is for everybody kind of worms, I do think bringing more people into the hobby is important. And so that was nice to see. Obviously, I didn't do anything as cringe and go, you are a girl, and that's cool, because that would have been, but I'll say it now because I'm on my channel, so that was nice. She played Hankin Jaeger, which are a team where I do know what they do. Okay, I was just really pleased because I got to play on this was basically the ideal map for the team that I had decided to bring. Okay, this was the kind of map that I had hoped for, so I was able to like come out and breach into here, right? And I came through here and I breached out of here. I was just breaching everywhere, and then my guys came and they breached through here, and they sort of staged up here behind this door like this, and it was a fun game. We ended up having like a lot of the trouble that Grace had, really, to be honest, was she had taken Champion, which on the face of it, yeah, Champion is exactly the card that you want to take into Orcs, because Orcs do that thing where they have 12 wounds, so they're just at the threshold where with Champion you only need to kill one, and so to get you 2 VP, and she really should have been able to do it, but a combination of just a scratch, right? Because it would always be near the start of the round, so I would always have just a scratch available to me. A combination of tough gits being up that lets you re-roll a defense dice when you're on engage, and just some lucky rolling, kind of just meant that every time she would use it, and she would go with either the sniper or the RPG fella, make them the champion, and then try and kill an orc. And then this orc would end up barely surviving on like 4 wounds or so. And then I was able to usually, in my next activation, do something to kill the champion. So it was a very fun game. I really enjoyed it, and I will admit part of that is because I was finally being allowed to do the kinds of tactics and things that I'd practiced for, that I assumed that I would kind of be doing in the tournament. But you know, Grace was a lovely opponent, and we had a great chat like through the game. I think it was only her second tournament. We were chatting about that sort of thing, and yeah, I had a great time. Obviously, yes, I did win by a decent margin, which was nice for me. I want to be able to say like, oh, well, what you should have done is you should have taken this different secondary. But I'm actually not convinced Champion just wasn't the right choice. I just think she got a bit unlucky with the dice. It is a dice game, you know, at the end of the day. Some moments that went against me, like all the way through, Hankin have this thing where they half the damage on the first dice that you resolve when you strike them. So against my wreckers, it would always be like, well, I hit you for 5 or 6, which goes down to 3, right? And then I hit you for 5, so that's 8, and then you die. So I would take 1 hit in every combat, and then they'd be dead in 2 hits. Except, of course, that bleeding the leader, who not only the first time you try and kill him, he just doesn't die, right? And then Grace was healing with the grudge points, or the resource points, I forget which it is, right? I managed to heal the leader up a fair bit. Like, I think the leader got healed up again practically to full, and then try and kill the leader again, and the same thing plays out, and it's like, oh, but the leader's got an extra wound, so he was alive. So that leader gave me a bit of pause and hang around for a long while, just because the maths was different with that half damage. But yeah, I really enjoyed the game. It was a good game. Yeah. And I was mainly just pleased to be on Volcus, smashing my way through walls, having a lovely time. So, having had quite a strong win, tournament did its thing, and I had to then play into Legionary, which, you know, I was scared because Legionary, you know, you know the chat from all of the tier list videos and talking heads and people saying this is. I think, you know, both Glass Half Dead and Can You Roll a Crit have spoken in no uncertain terms about how horrible and ridiculously broken that they find the meta to be. And so I was scared, but I actually won. I won by a point. And for me, this game against Ian's a top bloke. He's from Peterborough Kill Team. And we just had a really awesome game. Like, it was really fundamentally a really amazing game that I really enjoyed. Now, a lot of people who are in the know say, like, oh, you know, the Breaker Boys are rubbish on Into the Dark because of the APL thing, so they can't, you know, they can't like get through the doors because they have to play like a 2 APL team, but then you've only got 6 and the squigs can't help you open doors. And I can see that, but on this particular map it was pretty cool because in turn, like, I managed to get an orc up here with forward the scout dash, right? I had a fella down here. This was my knob up here, this big X, and then I staged up here. So in the first turning point I just moved an orc up here. Had this door open. I had 2 orcs waiting behind here. So there's 2 orcs here, 2 orcs here. This door was open and knob had gone through, and then there was an orc waiting here and a squig as well. And I think there was another squig down here. And you know, yes, this here I regretted. Sorry, let me just change the pen colour so you know what I'm talking about. For those of you that are looking up, which is like 2 of you. This here I regretted because he did get a... well, no, because these were all on conceal. You know, so even with the door open, with they're on conceal, they couldn't really be shot. There was some point where he got quite a good shot off on me with his sorcerer, right? But, like, there are things that you can do. So, like, these guys here, quite often, I would... First of all, you can work in tandem where you open the door, and then the other orc can charge through. But even doing things like open the door, throw a crack grenade, right? And then charge the guy that you've just thrown a crack grenade at, right? And then that's the end of your activation, right? Because what are they going to do? Are they going to fight you, right? But you're probably going to win. If you're on full health... and they've just taken a crack grenade to the face, and you've done like 9 damage with a crack grenade, well, cool. They're going to hit you, and then you're going to hit them, and they're going to die because you're a massive orc. Right? So I found that, I managed to do that with both my crack grenades, I think. So I found that quite effective. You know, that sort of wait behind the door, then open, throw the crack, and then do the charge. Had stun grenades as well, because why not? Right? You know, I'm not saying he didn't hurt me as well. He definitely did. And he managed to score a load of points with Overrun. You know, at one point, he got his Butcher down here, stood here, scoring Overrun because my orcs were standing here being cowardly. And then I'm like, well, there's a Butcher there on full health. And I did the mad thing that shouldn't work statistically. Right, charging the Demolisher, right? And you go, right, well, you're a Butcher. Nothing in my team wants to go toe to toe with a Butcher. I'm just gonna use my blow myself up action. And it was like, okay. I rolled the crit, so I had the crit. It's 2d6 plus 6. Now, average roll on 2 dice is 7, right? 7 plus 6 is 13, right? So I knew it was unlikely, it was just slightly on the edge of improbable that I was going to be able to kill the Butcher in one shot. But what do you know? I did it, right? I got the roll, and I did the damage to the Butcher. Yeah, he killed himself, but in that game, 6 orcs versus 6 marines, I would definitely trade my Demolisher. I probably wouldn't have traded for any of the other marines on a 1-to-1, but I'd definitely trade it for the Butcher. you know. And then yeah, his leader came down here and killed the other orc that was hanging out here. And so for the longest time, he had his leader sat here, and he was just mining points, right? Because he was denying me, because I had secure, right, to hold about your half. So he's in my half, denying me that. He's sitting there mining out his points for seized ground, right? But I eventually wiped out all the other things that were going on here. So we ended up, at the end of turning point 3, his leader was here, right, mining all these things. And then I'll just go back to the green pen. I had my knob on full health. This wasn't quite the end of turn 3. My knob had been sat here the whole game, because he basically came in here and was babysitting this objective. And I had 2 orcs here on like 2 wounds apiece after the dust had cleared. And so what I did that I thought was pretty cool, at the very end of turning point 3, I moved a mostly dead orc using the engine oil to get the full movement back through here. So I could move my knob through here. Sorry, it was this orc. Move my knob through here, and then that's how he came to the last turning point. And then he won the roll-off to go first, and he scurried around, and he tapped the objective to get a VP, and he did another thing, and he went on guard and all this stuff. And then I brought down this other orc to open the door, and then my knob just charged through. So it ended up being my, and of course, after having already cleared out this room, his leader was down on 9 wounds. So it ended up being the game was basically decided by a one-on-one combat between the orc knob and the leader of the legionaries. It was like it was the champion, I think. Like, that's epic. So I really enjoyed this game. Ian's a top bloke as well, and I really enjoyed being able to say I've beaten legionaries. Like I won a game against legionaries before they were nerfed. Now, to be fair to Ian, he wasn't playing the meta pick. He was playing the way that people were playing legionaries when the game first came out. So he was doing the old half. He had like a Tzeentch sorcerer, a Tzeentch icon, and a Tzeentch melter gun. And then he had the Nurgle butcher, the Khorne butcher, the Khorne, I think it was the Khorne, the guy with 2 knives, and the Khorne, might have been the guy that go demon mode, but he didn't go demon mode. He didn't have a heavy gunner anyway, but he was doing half Khorne, half Tzeentch, so he wasn't doing the Nurgle thing. Maybe if he'd been doing the Nurgle thing, he'd have won. Right? Who can say? Round 6, last game. I was playing Chris Turner, and we're on back onto one of Can You Roll a Crits maps on Killzone Maroc. And I can't even properly fathom what went wrong with this one. Because I thought it was going to go really well, because I had, basically half my team here, half my team here. And normally the problem on Maroc is getting over these stupid walls. Now, crits changed something. I'm sure they used to be more annoying to climb over in the last edition of Kill Team somehow. But anyway, so I breached through. My guy that breached through ended up here. My other orcs came up like here. And I tried using a portable barricade and see how that would go. And then here I had some more, and I just went and breached through and went and sort of staged here. And then the Arbites, he was able to I think he was able to kill this one in the first turn, which kind of sucked. And my squigs were somewhat stupid, and he was able to kill off the squigs as well, right? Because he was able to get an angle on him, from here. Like he had a guy out in the open here, I was able to get an angle on him that I couldn't see. And then, like a fool, I had the next turn, and then I ran round and went, cool, well, I'll kill you. And then he was like, cool, but I've got all these Arbites back here, and they've all got shotguns, so they're all going to kill this guy, which sucked. And then he had his little police car thing here, that meant it was 2 action points to tap that. So this orc tapped it for 2 action points. And then he basically was able to run some guys on from back here somewhere and took it off me before I could really do anything about it. Over on this flank, you know, he had a guy with a grenade launcher that was up here that killed a squig. So my knob comes out, all guns blazing, tries to shoot the grenade launcher, doesn't quite get the kill. Right. I'm moving up here onto this with a view to capturing it with my other guy. And then one guy stayed back here to capture this objective. And then, yeah, they just got shot to death. You know. And then there was a little bit of shenanigans later on where I was like, okay, well, my knob had died. And a guy here who was mostly dead up here. And I thought, well, you know, I'll try and be clever. I'll lob a grenade and then charge to safety with a view to... because there was an arbite on either side of him. With a view to... And I'd moved this guy up as well, right? With a view to getting the cheeky fight. Because I was grossly outnumbered to get the cheeky fight in Overwatch. But basically... It became clear that because the shield fella that was here was always going to strike first and could parry twice with the balance of wounds, that I was going to lose. So, yeah, it was a pretty brutal loss. Just in terms of the Orcs wanting to run forwards and the Arbites have really powerful... Like, those 4-4 shotguns are really reliable and they will put down a 12-wound Orc, you know, without too much difficulty. So yeah, that was, and you know, running across, even though there's quite a lot of heavy terrain, but if you're the side that needs to advance, you've got to run across quite a, like, it's a bit of a battle of the Somme situation in this middle here. I mean, maybe I'll blame the map again instead of my own lack of ability as a kill team player. How about that? You know. So then this is where we ended up. Let's go through the... I'll grab a laser pointer. Oops. So the winner was Bart with Hearthkin Salvagers, which I think was pretty cool. I didn't know Bart had swapped over to Hearthkin. I thought he would still be on his Harling Quins, but that was Bart. So he did really good. And then number 2 is Terry Gee. I don't actually know who that is. But playing Legionaries, so obviously no shame, you know. No, I'm kidding. It's fine. But one loss, okay. Then we got Alex Ogden on Corsair Voidsguard with 1 loss as well. Guy Barton, you know, father of the world champion. I was just listening to Glass Half Dead, who tells me that Barton the Younger was here playing under a false name, so that he didn't, like, spike his something about the points you get in BCP, and I don't know about that. I didn't spot Dan Barton. Maybe Terry Gee is Dan Barton. Who knows? Does anybody know? If you were there in the comments, or if Dan is watching, were you here, Dan? Come on, identify yourself. But yeah, I don't know. But anyway, it's interesting to me that Guy came fourth with Ratlings. That's pretty cool. I think Ratlings are a sleeper hit. A lot of people are, you know, not that sold on Ratlings from a read through, but once they have played them, they seem to be doing quite well, right? Unless this was Dan playing on his dad's account, who can say? We've got Joe Mullin, Blades of Cain. Blades of Cain, 5th is pretty cool. Crit down in 6th place, which is, you know, that'll be he'll probably feel that's poor showing for him by his usual standard, but I will wait for his tournament report. I'm sure he will do one where he will chronicle his journey through the tournament But yeah. Harrison Law, Hieratech Circle, okay. But it's interesting, because of the team, you think the top teams are Inquisition, Hieratech, Legionaries, and Thousand Sons. And we're seeing, you're seeing Hearthkin up here, you're seeing Voidsguard up here, Rattlings, Blade of Cain. Legionary and Hieratech, but they're not the top spots, are they? We got some Plague Marines, we got some Nemesis Claws, some Voidsguard, lots of Voidsguard going along. Yeah. There's Exaction Squad. So Chris has done well. Off his 20 points he scored off me to go up to 12th place. It goes to show, doesn't it? John's a cool bloke. Yeah. With Angels of Death. Okay. There's our first Warp Coven player. So 40. You bring the filth and you only get under 14th place. It's one of those things, Adam on with Legionaries. Okay. 2 losses there as well. Vespid. Only 2 losses with Vespid. And people say Vespid are supposed to be appalling. And yet here we are. Farstor. He has a good answer for the crew. Here comes our first of the 3 Wrecker Crew players. Okay. So that's cool. Matt, spent a lot of time chatting to Matt, actually, in between events, right? Comparing Wrecker Crew related notes. Jason Abbott, Felgor. Yeah. We got some Mandrakes. That's cool. Plague Marines again. Charles with his Angel of Death, 22nd. Hieratech, Angels of Death, Legionaries, Angels of Death. There's the other Wrecker Crew player. Angels of Death, Legionaries, Angels of Death. There's my Wrecker Crew. Kazakin, right? Doing, I think, brave to take Kazakin, given the current meta. And I realised when I got to John's name, I said, John's a top bloke. And I realised there are now 2 other Johns. And I don't know which John it is that I think is a top bloke. We could assume that all Johns are top blokes. I think it might be John Bellamy that I think is a top bloke. Not that, this is getting silly now. Not that John Scrivens may or may not be a top bloke, but I see there's even a 3rd John. All the Johns that don't have a H in their name should all enter a 3-person kill team tournament, right? Just between them. It's funny how certain names in the Warhammer scene, you just start to see the same name over and over. It's really weird. It's probably to do with like age and social something and all sorts of weird anthropology. Yeah. Anyway, I'm rambling because it's past my bedtime. Because I stayed up to watch a Glass Half Dead stream instead of making my video. There you go. Angels of Death, there am I on Recruit 32. Chuffed, actually, given that I've previously finished last at these things, chuffed to be on 32 with the Wrecker Crew. Kazakin, yeah, brave take Kazakin, I think. And then we got more Legionary, Angels of Death, Void Dance Troop, Aquilons, nice. Farstalkers, Plague Marines, Hearthkin, Nemesis Claw. Someone brought Commandos, which I think is pretty cool. Mandrakes, Jaegers, Angels of Death, Navy Breachers with 2 wins, putting him in some sort of top percentage of worldwide Navy Breacher players, I think. Right, so that's pretty cool. Even though he came in 46, like Francis has done pretty good there to get his 2 Breacher wins. I think that's really cool. I think it's really cool. It takes real dedication to take a team like Breachers when they are renowned for being so poor just at the moment. Inquisition, is that only Inquisition in the game and it's ranked so far low down the table? Like, it just goes to show meta is and everything. And when you introduce maps like the Season 1 maps, it's going to really radically change the meta, isn't it? Right? David, Chaos Cult. I don't think they're very good, Chaos Cult, to be fair. But there you go. But hey, one big scoring game. I'd love to know what happened there to go 20 up. Tempestus, Angels of Death again, Brood Brothers, and last, Corsair Voidsguard. So a lot of repeated. I love Corsair Voidsguard. I know it's a lot of repeated teams, a few heroes with outliers. Me with three Wrecker Crew with me. Obviously quite a popular team as well. But yeah, pleased with where I ended up. So, personal reflection. I really enjoyed myself. Really enjoyed the Wrecker Crew. Can't wait to get the ranged half of the Wrecker Crew painted up. And play with the full roster, because there are definitely times when I thought I would have liked some guns, right? I think they are a nice and simple team that really gel with my preferred way of thinking about Kill Team. They're not too complicated. They don't rely on each other particularly much for combos, right? They are quite an independent team. They're quite an easy team to play. And honestly, I've said it before with Kill Team, I'm not really here for these Rube Goldberg teams where you have to combo so many different things together to get something like to work properly. Because you got to remember, your opponent's generally going to be cleverer than you. This is my general gist, right? And so even though I kind of suck at interfering with my opponent's plans, I can expect to play people who will actually have the brain power to dedicate to not only to doing their cool thing, but preventing me from doing my cool thing. So if my cool thing is literally, I'm going to charge you and fight you, hey, it's not impossible to prevent that with really clever moving, but it's a lot more... it's a lot more of an understandable game, if that makes sense. Basically calling myself thick and saying that the Wrecker Crew are a good team for thick people to play, but yeah, that's what we'll go for. I enjoyed them. I think they're a fun team, and they raised a smile from me even when I was losing. I really enjoyed all my games. I'm going to have a little moan about it just to close off. I'm really sorry for people that want something more positive, but I was a little bit irked about the introduction of Season 1 kill zones just 3 days before. Like, the event pack didn't say that they weren't doing it, but it just said a mix of indoor and outdoor kill zones, which, like I say, maybe I'm a fool for thinking so, but given what the Warhammer World events team did, I just assumed it was talking about Volkers Into the Dark. And then 3 days before the event, they decided they're using the Cryak map pack, which, like, alright, I'm not even totally convinced that it's bad. I think not telling your attendees, at the start of the thing, which kill zones are going to be in use is bad, right? And I think using a community map pack that some people are intimately familiar with and other people aren't, and not giving them, not that I would have ground out loads of missions on it, right? Because I'm not that kind of person, but I could have done. I think that's bad. But the principle of using the Season 1 kill zones, like, I do see, because I was talking this on the Discord, and Oro was like, oh, I'm really glad that they're going to bring back, I'm glad that light cover as a mechanic is not gone, because I like the Octarius style of play. But my basic issue with it is I would like everyone to play in the same game. Because it renders a lot of discussion and tier lists and thinking about what's powerful and what's not. And it renders, importantly, the official balance patches really challenging, because if most people, let's say, are playing on Volkers Into the Dark, and so most of your data is derived from those games, and so you're balancing around that, then the game that's not that, the game that involves Octarius, is going to become more and more unbalanced. Because the teams that are doing really well in those particular formats, there's nothing to flag in the data that win has come from a different kind of event to the majority of events, if that makes sense. So I feel like everybody should adopt the same maps. And I do have an opinion as to which maps they should adopt, right? But try and divorce the two things in your head. The strongest thing I feel from the map pack thing is that they should have told people much nearer the start, hey, we're using this Can You Roll a Crit map pack, here it is, right? The second strongest thing that I feel is that tournaments everywhere should use the same map pack, right? the third tier of thing that I feel is that for me personally, I think that we should use only the 3 kill zones presented in the core rules. And the reason I think that, honestly, it's my usual thing of wanting to worry about the new player experience. Yeah, I have Octarius. I haven't put it in the bin yet. I was thinking about donating Octarius to my school Warhammer Club to let the kids play on it, because I was assuming I was never going to need it again. And now I don't know, and I've got a painted Morok that I was going to, again, donate to the school. I've got a painted Nachman that I was going to sell. I'm sorry, I got a new on the sprue Nachman that I was going to sell. I've got a new on the sprue Chalnath that I was going to sell. And now I don't know whether those things are worth painting up and using anymore, because I just don't quite know where we are, right? If Games Workshop sets the standard, people will ape what Games Workshop does, right? But right now, Games Workshop is sending out 3 conflicting messages from 3 different parts of the company, okay? Games Workshop, as in the kill team, design development team in the rulebook, is saying very loudly in the rulebook, the subtext is, there are 3 kill zones. They are Beta Decima, right, Volcus, and the Gallowdark. Those are the 3 ways to play. These have official maps. And then, yeah, here are some empty layouts if you really want to use other terrain, I guess, right? But the subtext is very clearly, these 3 are the best way to play, right? Then you've got the global events team that ran Worlds, who have gone a step even further and said, you know what, Beta Decima doesn't exist, right? We're just going to run Volcus and we're going to run Into the Dark. And so what happens is this shapes the independent tournaments, so like the Knots kill team, the Christmas Clash, they ran the 3 kill zones from the rulebook. The UKGT, world's biggest independent tournament producer that apparently I'm only just hearing of as of this month, the kill team event that they ran in Nottingham this weekend gone was literally just Into the Dark and Volcus, so it was very much following the world's format. And yet the Warhammer World one was not. It was doing its own thing using the Season 1 map packs. Now, the other thing I think is interesting, just to get really into the weeds on this one, I was under the impression that the golden ticket sort of season hadn't started. Not that I am personally in a contention for a golden ticket, because I'm not good at kill team, but you like to watch these things. But like, I was under the impression the season hadn't started because the Warhammer World doing a 2-day event, no golden ticket, right? But the UKGT 3-round 1-day event had 2 golden tickets to give away, and that seems odd to me. Like, maybe Warhammer World deliberately decided that they didn't want to do golden tickets for their first 2-day event because they're trying to dial in what they want to do with the format. Because they did ask specifically on the feedback form, like there was a question that was like, tell us what you thought about the variety of kill zones on offer. So I think the events team, can't remember the guy's name. I follow him on Twitter as well. I don't really speak to him. I follow the tall guy who isn't Ed, the other, not Ed and not Layla, the other fella, basically, who is like the lead organizer for Warhammer World events, was there. And I think maybe they're trying to dial in like exactly what it is they want to do before they start offering their golden tickets. I don't know. But yeah, it's an interesting one because I don't think we should use those Season 1 boxes, largely because new players don't know what they are, they can't buy them, and they're not in the core rules. You have to, if you want to play on those things, you have to be following Can You Roll a Crit on YouTube, know about his map pack, right? Get the terrain or a facsimile of it from the internet somewhere, probably for too much money, and then and also, yeah, it adds to the challenge. But like, if you're someone that gets to play 1 game a week, I already don't play as many games as I would like on Beta Decima or on Into the Dark, because me and Zimbad never want to spend the time setting up Into the Dark, right? And it's like, I know, I could be persuaded either way. I'm persuadable in the comments, but I feel a bit funny about and I'm just not sure now. If I want to get better with the Wreck crew and be better prepared for the next tournament, I kind of do. What terrain am I playing on in my one game a week, if that? Who can say? Final thoughts. So, were you at the event? Maybe I've grossly insulted you in my review, in which case I can only apologise. But please do, if you especially are in the event, share your thoughts. If you're one of my opponents or you're someone else at the event, please do share your thoughts down below. As of right now, I have no Kill Team tournaments booked. I was going to go to one in Manchester, and it doesn't work out because I have to do jury service in July. One of them J months, July. So, yes. I don't have any more. So if you know a Kill Team tournament that you think I should go to, bearing in mind I have a crippling fear of the M25, which is why I'm not going to Bristol. That's a whole other kettle of fish. I would rather drive to Glasgow for a Kill Team. I live in Essex, right? Not necessarily wholly through choice, but I live in Essex. I would rather drive to Glasgow for a Kill Team tournament than have to deal with the M25, which I realise is very idiosyncratic of me, but I do not. How long is this video? Need to explain to the Americans very briefly. The M25 is the motorway that goes around London. 12% of the population of the UK lives in London. It's horrible. The south of this country doesn't know how to work properly. We don't have they don't have cities here in the south. They have the city and then a bunch of nonsense and too many cars, and it's horrifying. And part of me really wants to go back up north where I'm from, but there's lots of reasons, economic reasons, good sensible child raising reasons why I stay where I am. But I do not enjoy the M25 as a concept. So, but if anyone wants to recommend any tournaments that aren't that way, they should recommend them. I am going to do a Shatterpoint tournament in March, which I will do a tournament report on my first ever Shatterpoint tournament. I did say I was going to try and diversify the games talked about on the channel, and chief among those is going to be some Star Wars Shatterpoint stuff. So look forward to that if that's your bag. I do wish the two tournaments hadn't overlapped. I would have gone to, had I known about it in good time, I would have gone to the UK GT event. Although, having just lurked on Glass Half, I chatted a bit, but having just been on Glass Half Dead's stream earlier today, I'm now really glad that I didn't go to the UK GT tournament for one reason only. Apparently it was freezing, and since I had COVID-19, I really suffer with the cold. So that would have been a very negative tournament review had I gone and had I been that cold. So that's dodged a bullet, I feel, there, which is no negativity towards people that ran it and that had a great time. But yeah, I feel like I dodged a bullet there. Right, I've rambled long enough. Do subscribe, comment, like, and consider joining the Discord if for some reason this is something that appeals to you. Why this is something that appeals to anybody, I don't know. But some people apparently find whatever this is to be quite charming and enjoyable. Primarily among them, Mr. Nightfall and Mr. Samuel Troth, who, gosh, he even sent me a voice note to say how to pronounce his surname, but I can't remember now whether the voice note says it's Troth not Troth or it's Troth not Troth. I think it's Troth. Samuel Troth. I'm going to go for that. And Mr. Nightfall, who are both subscribed at the highest tier, and therefore give a splendid amount of money every single month for whatever this is, to keep me in 3D printer filament and super glue, right? So thank you so much, lads. I really appreciate that as well. And yeah, have a great evening. It's time for me to go to bed. It was time for me to go to bed about 45 minutes ago, all told, but there you go. All right, cheery, bye. Have a good one. Bye-bye.